And we're live. What's up, everybody? It is Sportskeeda Wrestling. I am Kellam. A lot of big stories to cover here on a Wednesday or whenever you're watching it. WWE is getting stomped. How did their stock go to a 52-week high? WrestleMania plans for this year's SummerSlam. That's right. Las Vegas could be blowing up. And big COVID changes for WWE NXT. It's today's Sportskeeda Wrestling top stories of the day. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. What is up, everybody? I'm Kellam. That is Jose_G_official. What is up? We are in the thick of a week. A lot of news. All three of these stories that we're going to cover.
They just dropped all of a sudden today.
They dropped all of a sudden today, and all of them could be lead stories. Like all of them feel like they can be.
Yeah.
And if you're with us, don't forget to engage with us. Don't forget to react. If there's something you see you don't like, go ahead and let us know what you think about it. Also, subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube with your notifications on. You can make that personalized. You get all the notifications or just some on your mobile device. Also, if you're watching on your TV, we love this. This is just our personal itch. I love seeing people watch our show on television. Do the dad thing, take a picture of the TV, and shoot a tweet at us at SKWrestling_ on Twitter. All right, so let's get into the stories of the day. WWE has SummerSlam. We've been talking about it for weeks. This year's SummerSlam, just because the situation with the pandemic, is going to be one of the bigger SummerSlams of all time. Also, it may run in the biggest venue that SummerSlam has been held in a long time. Maybe the biggest venue for a SummerSlam since 1992. It will run at Allegiant Stadium, the new home of the Raiders of the NFL. It'll be one of the first major entertainment shows there. Guns N' Roses is booked to do some concerts there as well. Outside of football, this is a pretty big deal for Las Vegas. It's going to run on a Saturday night, a first for SummerSlam, head-to-head with a Manny Pacquiao fight on the other side of town. And it's expected to do pretty well. Now, we don't have any information on exactly when tickets go on sale, but August 21st, end of the summer, big time feel, over 60,000 people expected for the show. And it seems like we're going to get some WrestleMania-level hype in terms of matches, marketing, and more for this year's SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that, man. So there are some reports coming in today that SummerSlam is looking to be at a WrestleMania-level caliber event this year. This is something that I've been personally advocating for several years, that SummerSlam should be just as big as WrestleMania. There are multiple sources, including good old WrestleVotes on Twitter, who said that WWE is 100% attempting to make SummerSlam this year's WrestleMania. That's according to WrestleVotes. So if that's the case, I mean, we got the venue, we got the city, we got a potential host. SummerSlam is truly going to be the party of the summer.
And, of course, we have a big attraction that is heavily rumored. And in that same WrestleVotes tweet, now WrestleVotes, for if you don't know, is basically an anonymous Twitter that has scooped a lot of things. And when WrestleVotes tweets, the wrestling media world listens with bated breath. It has a pretty good track record in terms of saying what is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and having an idea of what is being talked about. Its sources within WWE are quite assured. We don't know what they are, obviously. And if we did, I don't think it'd be our right to say what they are. People saying, what are you going to do for SummerSlam? In the same tweet, they say that John Cena returning to WWE versus the most over villain in all of professional wrestling, maybe the number one character in wrestling right now, the head of the table, the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns.
You better put some respect on that name.
What, buddy?
You need to put some respect on that name. Your tribal chief, our tribal chief, okay. Roman Reigns.
It would certainly be a big attraction to get John Cena back in the fold. I've been saying it for a while. He's got the movie coming out in July. All right, so that movie's still going to be in theaters. That's a Fast and the Furious movie. That's a huge movie. I don't know if him returning to WWE exactly is needed. I'd say it's probably needed more for the DC superhero movie he's going to be in. DC has an up and down track record with their films. He's going to be a big part of the Suicide Squad. And he's going to be in that film coming up later this summer. So there's just a lot of interesting maneuvering here. He's going to pull Rock, what The Rock did 10 years ago, come back to WWE, reignite his base audience, and then come and see me at the movie theater. Come and see me in HBO Max.
Full circle.
So, but him versus Reigns, what happens here? If you're Fox, you got to love that because that means John Cena is going to be on SmackDown on Friday nights.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to see what the fans want to see. What do you want on SummerSlam? What do you want to see there? DWK texting in here saying, I want to see Lesnar versus Lashley. That match has been talked about quite a bit. There's a lot of speculation that Bobby Lashley defeated Drew McIntyre, who people thought was just the most predicted winner for this year's past WrestleMania. That was their first big show in a stadium in front of fans during the pandemic. And Lashley won clean, the slight distraction finish, and he wins with his hurt lock. I don't know. I think Lesnar-Lashley match is spectacular. It's just on paper. It sounds like a really big match. Two big titans.
It's a money match.
It's a money match. And then you also have Lesnar coming in as a babyface in that scenario too, which is rare. The great thing that you could do with a Lesnar versus Lashley is not only you got both of these guys who have an MMA background, both of these guys that are completely dominant in their own way. This you could sell this to be just over the top main event, bigger than Conor McGregor versus Mayweather, bigger than Mayweather versus Paul versus Mayweather. Do you think they're going to market it that way? It's just like a mega fight.
They could,
even though it's within WWE. You know,
absolutely. Yeah. They can make it that way. They got the editing team to do it. They have a whole team just to put a 30-second piece of video together. So just imagine everything you can do to build this up to that caliber. That just, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Joey wants to see Cena versus Reigns. Other people want other big matches on this year's show. Ariel wants to see Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. Becky Lynch is still waiting to come back. She just had the baby a few months ago, so we'll see what happens there. She's still under contract with WWE. And people just of course, we have Zosky texting in here saying WrestleMania SummerSlam. That'll be the new name of the show. He's close to naming it like that. You know Vince's mind. We know Vince's mind, everybody. We know a billionaire's mind.
Hey, Kevin, I think we were going to change the name to SummerSlam to WrestleMania SummerSlam.
Pronouns, pal. Pronouns. Yeah. Rory, who's always with us, thank you so much for the support, Rory. I see you watching all the time. He goes, I want to see Reigns versus Cena Hell in a Cell, Cardi B versus Sasha Banks, and the return of Becky Lynch. Let's talk about the Cardi B thing. She is the rap superstar. She had one of the biggest songs of last year with Megan Thee Stallion in WAP. I won't say what that means. You can Google it. And so she had some interaction with social media superstars, some kerfuffle. They used her name in a scene on Monday Night Raw as a bit. She wasn't on the show, but they used it. They referenced it as a joke. Not her, but like, hey, go in that room. Cardi B's over there. And someone ran in the room and they got attacked or something. So she kind of went back and forth with people on social media and said, I love all these ruthless aggression people from like the early 2000s. And these are my favorite people. And, you know, some WWE people went back and forth with her. Be interesting to see. I mean, they used her song on the marketing for this. It makes sense.
How can you not though?
Just have her come in and do a couple bits. You know what I mean? I don't know if you're gonna have her perform. You know what I mean? I can see them having her perform though too.
She'll probably like hip toss someone left and right, and that's about the extent of what she could probably do in the ring.
Yeah, hip toss. Come on, do it. She's not gonna do the Ricky Dragon one where she does like the hip drop and like drops your own hip and like uses your whole body. No, it's gonna be run into my shoulder and then flip yourself.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. That's it. That's all you got to do, and she'll get a pop.
No, if she gets in the ring and takes her earrings off and has the nails out, dude, that could be kind of cool. She doesn't even have to look pretty. Just has to be Cardi B.
That's it.
A very outland, over the top personality, if you will. Ibzad is with us, says, who's coming back? Well, the word is John Cena versus Roman Reigns. That is the current plan, or at least rumored plan. No confirmation from WWE about this. Obviously, no word from John Cena, but he has been making weird allusions on social media about things, just simply posting the WWE logo on his Instagram and all that fun stuff. Certainly, it would bring a lot of attention to John Cena with this movie coming out. You know, if everything lines up, there's been some talk. He'd be the perfect guy to put out there as WWE's back on the road and they want to reignite people. These shows will sell out. These shows in July will sell. They'll move tickets on their own just because people want to go. But WWE's going to want to reignite people to watch their product during the summer, reignite them. Hey, as we're going to essentially the second WrestleMania of the year, SummerSlam now, there's a lot more attention on this and everything kind of has to be hit and delivered correctly. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. You got to hit it correctly and bring in John Cena. That's name recognition on itself. Not only he's one of the most well-known WWE superstars of all time, but now John Cena is a household name. You hear this guy in Honda commercials. You hear him in pistachio commercials. You see him hefty bag commercials.
He's selling nuts.
He's selling nuts. He's in Fast and Furious. He's all over. He's a household name, just like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And it's funny how we come full circle from John Cena criticizing The Rock back in 2011 about him coming back and not loving it, and John Cena goes and does the same thing. But who can blame him? I mean, he's John Cena. He's going to do what he's got to do.
Dre.analysis Tillman Jr. I love that tag here. He texts in, do y'all think Roman should lose the title to John Cena? Big question there. I mean, it's big enough if the match happens, but is Cena going to come in here and topple the most over villain in all of wrestling? And I'm going to challenge anybody to tell me that any villain, any heel is more on top of their game in terms of people want to see him lose, but they also want to see what he does next. Roman is right there. He is the best he's ever been.
Absolutely.
And also the people that love him still love him. You notice this? If you go on wrestling Twitter, the women that are baby girls for Roman and fan themselves at his presence, they are still on board. They don't care if he's evil. They like the bad boy.
They like him. They like him even more.
Do you think
I see the crazy memes?
Does Cena come in and beat him for the title, or is this just Cena kind of coming in and saying like, "Hey, I can't be here all the time. Kick my ass. Let's do a big match."
I don't know. It just depends on how long Cena's going to stick around. Is he going to just stick around only for SummerSlam and then go back on the road? If that's the case, then Roman's going to beat the living S out of him. But if he's going to stick around for a little bit,
I could see WWE maybe going a different way here. And
they did it to Goldberg.
It would piss off the diehards.
Oh yeah, it will.
It would piss off the diehards if John Cena came in and won this thing and beat him for the title. I don't think Cena would have the title for long, and it would aggravate people because their thing is like, no, have him keep the title and then really make a guy with it. I agree in that logic completely, but we're in a completely different circumstance right now. Like we're in a completely different scenario. I think this year's WrestleMania is a completely different WrestleMania because it's in a position where it's like WWE scene, some numbers dropped off. We saw this, but we still have our core audience. This is for casual fans. This is for diehard casual fans, and they want both aisles. They want the people that watch now and then, and they want you that's watching all the time. You will pay attention to a John Cena Roman Reigns match. You'll get pissed at the reaction if it isn't Roman Reigns, the villain who's been there at the top of the heap all the time, continuing to dominate someone, and then your chosen crowd, organic picked guy, your Cesaro, comes and takes the belt from him. That's what you want. But we're not in that time. It just doesn't line up with the real world. The real world is WWE's hitting the road again, and they want casual families of four to come back to wrestling again. And they want people that haven't watched since pre-pandemic who tuned out and said there's no crowds there. I don't feel the emotional pyrotechnics. John Cena is emotional pyrotechnics. You care about him. People that were like 10-year-old kids in 2006 are now in their 20s, and guess who their Hulk Hogan is? It's John Cena. And so, you want to get them back in the mix here. Mario saying Cena should lose. I'm okay on either way. If they can tell me a compelling story, I'm all right with it either way. Yeah, I'm all right with it.
I gotta agree with you because the most important thing here for me is looking and hearing about everybody's reaction. Because either way it goes, people are going to bitch about it.
Oh, come on! Don't tell wrestling fans they can't bitch. All right, tell us how you feel. If you don't have the hounds to even write a little comment and get on screen here with the regular Sportskeeda maniacs here, you can engage. You hit the buttons, just hammer them buttons right there. Whatever button you feel like expresses your emotions, hammer the buttons. My accent's coming out here. Let's talk about the stocks. Let's talk about this. WWE stock at a 52-week high due to a popular subreddit. They're getting the stonk treatment. What's the latest here?
Oh yeah, man. So weird thing about this stock. So it is, like you mentioned, it is at a 52-week high at $70.72 this morning. Now it's up 12.31%. The day started at 65.31. Actually, it started at 63.01 and jumped up to $70.72. And apparently, this stock surge is apparently due to an interest from Wall Street Bets subreddit, which is behind the recent headline-making spikes with the GameStop and the AMC, among others. So it was it was something that was put in there, and it just took off this morning. And I'm a shareholder myself, and I saw that, but I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to it because these kind of things, these are fads. You'll see it jump up. Yep, you'll jump up. And then it'll come right back down.
You're there for the pump, but you're not there for the dump, huh? You're going to hang around here. You're going to hang
definitely hanging around.
So that's a pretty big leap here. And
12% in a day is big.
And any day, and that's any stock.
I think at one point it was up even 20.24% today. Yeah, it went up and then it went right back down. So yeah, it was all because of that subreddit.
Of course, Bianca Liero saying, and it went to the moon.
The moon.
Cameron Grimes, who's still chasing Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Millions. And he basically is a stonk character. His character is, I got rich doing these AMC stonk things, and I have a bunch of money to blow. But he's kind of frivolous with his money. I'd say he's one of the better comedy characters in wrestling right now. So it's interesting that WWE is getting the stonk treatment, and they have a character who's basically all of these memes on television as this redneck millionaire maniac. One of the best theme songs in the business, too, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think here? This isn't a sign of like the WWE is for sale type stuff. None of that. This is clearly just the subreddit. They're getting the stonk treatment. There's nothing else to be seen for this.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just kind of like blowing smoke just to kind of get a little bit of attention. If it were something even more major, the major networks would be covering it, like MSNBC or Fox Business. They'd be covering it. They didn't cover it. Clearly internet wrestling or wrestling Twitter will pay attention to something like that. But I don't think any of this really means anything. That's just me.
WWE is changing its COVID-19 policy specifically for WWE NXT. Now, WWE NXT has been in the Capitol Wrestling Center since about last summer. They do have fans there. They've had fans there prior to that. And these fans are usually casted, meaning these are fans that have to get a test for COVID within a certain period of time, or at least are within a pool of people that WWE are aware of. So you can't buy tickets to these NXT shows. Now, recently we learned that WWE NXT was going to take some televised and non-televised talent and put them on what's called the Coconut Circuit, which they have in Florida for live events of 200 to 300 people, basically house shows just for NXT. Now we're learning that television is going to have more relaxed pullback regulations on it. What's the latest you're down in Florida?
Yeah, man. So here in sunny Orlando, Florida, here at the Performance Center and also at the Capitol Wrestling Center, NXT has actually adjusted their COVID-19 policies, especially starting from this weekend's NXT Takeover in your house. So according to the report, WWE is requesting that fans do not register to attend Sunday's pay-per-view if they've been close in contact with a person that has COVID. So they're only asking them if they've ever been in contact. They're not going to be doing in-house testing anymore. They were doing the free rapid COVID testing on the night of the show, and they had to complete a questionnaire.
Were they doing that for fans, or they were doing that for wrestlers and talent and everybody?
I think it was only for the fans at the time.
They have to have a separate thing for the talent and everybody else. There's HIPAA laws and stuff like that they'd have to follow. Yeah,
exactly, correct. And and off the heels of WWE announcing that they're going to be going back on the road with live events and fans are in return, as of this Sunday's NXT Takeover, no more COVID testing for the CWC. So does that mean that NXT will have a full house every Tuesday night? I sure hope so.
I mean, they've been adding more and more fans. The last takeover, they added like at least 70 to 80 more fans. I know it sounds crazy to say 70 or 80 more fans for a television show, but that's the time frame we're in. You know, they were not in the same circumstance that AEW has with this open air amphitheater they've been in for the last year and a half. It isn't the same case, and they've slowly gone through it, and they've had outbreaks, and they pull it back, and they do everything they can and adapt. And you hope at this point enough people are getting the vaccine. Now, for our international fans, the U.S. government, President Biden, has initiated the goal of getting 70% of American adults having at least one shot. We are probably on track to be short of that by July 4th, which is the intended goal. I would say a key about a couple tens of millions short of that.
Maybe they should have lowered the 72. You saw
we'll
that,
do it
right?
by Labor Day. We can do it by Labor Day, right?
Maybe they should have lowered the 70. You know, us because it's 70%. It's just kind of. It wasn't a CDC number, and I don't want to get too outside of it. Yeah,
just
it was like
my grades
69. 69. You know,
69. I'm a teenage boy. 69. So no, it's just so there's a lot of effort, but there's different parts of the country where there is that getting the vaccine is not on their radar culturally, and then it isn't a priority. And then you have other parts of the country where it is. In the major cities on the coast, it absolutely is. On the major cities in California, New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, where I am. I know some cities in Florida like that, but in many other parts of Florida, it isn't. So WWE's going to have to be really picky and choosy about where they go. And the thing is, you're kind of like doing this on an honor system. There's parts of the South. There's a specific like 6-state region in the South where the vaccination rates are not very high. And then there's some parts of like Texas where the vaccination rates are really low. Other parts where it is high. And that's a state that's been open for a long, long time, much prior to like a national widespread opens. Illinois is going to be open here for most full capacity events by mid-July. We will have Lollapalooza at the end of July. Milwaukee in Wisconsin, just north of us, will have their 2-week-long Summerfest. So more and more big events are coming back. We're going to have outbreaks. It's going to be a part of it. How is WWE going to deal with it when we get there? That's kind of the iffy space that we're going into. You know, you're stepping off the spaceship onto a new planet, it feels like in some cases with these live events.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. So other people chiming in, they're just excited for WWE to come back. People looking forward to this. Before we sign off here, what do you think about these rumors here for Hell in a Cell? We have NXT Takeover this weekend. I think it's a pretty stacked card. I think it's another sleeper NXT Takeover that's going to come up, and people are going to be like, "Oh, I'm okay at NXT. I'll watch it now and then." But I think this card's going to sneak up and bite people in the ass. It's going to be a banger. I do think that Fatal 5-Way is going to be really interesting. If you enjoy over-the-top, crazy spot wrestling, I think you're going to get a ton of it there for that NXT title match. Now, Hell in a Cell, though, there's still so much of this card we don't know. We know we're getting Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley inside Hell in a Cell. This could be Drew's last shot at the championship, which I thought was a nice thing that they added on Monday Night Raw. Also, Monday Night Raw, overall, this is like a thumbs up Monday Night Raw. Right? Monday Night Raw has had a very spotty record recently. This week's Monday Night Raw, I was like, all right, like this all kind of makes sense. It felt like a go-home show. It's like that 2-week out pay-per-view thing. So, but there's a lot of Hell in a Cell that isn't finalized over on the SmackDown side. They're telling some great stories on WWE SmackDown with Roman Reigns kind of like browbeating his cousin, saying like, "Why are you trying to win the tag team championship when your role should be just to back me up?" And then they go and they don't get it, and they don't win the championship from the Mysterios, which is Rey Mysterio and his son. So you have a family versus a family. All right, that's starting to come together. And now there's talk that, with Roman beating up Dominic, Rey's son, and throwing Rey out of the ring, and the Usos not stopping Roman from beating up Rey because he was upset that his cousins could win the title. We're going to get Rey Mysterio. We're going to get Rey Mysterio versus Roman Reigns here with just about a week and a half build and put it inside Hell in a Cell. Is it too fast, too much? I don't care. I think the stories is really good. The characters are over. I'll be rooting for Rey, and I know Roman's going to just wreck him.
Listen, I got my Rey Mysterio shirt on right now because I knew we were going to talk about Rey. I love Rey, but this is not a fight Rey needs to be looking for. He does not. He's a legend. He really doesn't need this, but it's going to happen. All these things just been happening all of the blue. Hell in the Cell got moved from October to June. You know what? Let's just put Rey and Roman inside Hell in the Cell.
At this rate,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. This rate,
yeah. Is there a different scenario you'd like to see play out there? Because I just think it'll be a mixture of all those different players. It'll be some of the Mysterios, the Usos. If they did Mysterio versus the Usos, Hell in a Cell is like a title match with Roman kind of looming over the whole thing, I'd be okay with that as well. There were some people who thought maybe they were going to do one of the Usos going against Roman inside Hell in a Cell. If they were going to do that, I think we would have already known by now.
I think if they would have done part 2 with Jimmy versus Roman, so that way Jimmy can acknowledge Roman, that would be another way that you can go.
Almost, like a sequel to what they did last year, where they had Jay just basically give up and say, like, "Yeah, I'll do it. You're the guy. You're the guy. Well, you're the man." And that was one of the best WWE matches last year. It's just kind of weird. I also think Hell in a Cell, the sell is the attraction. They think that sells it. So what we put in that cage isn't sometimes as important as simply just say, these people are going to be there. There will be cage matches. I think for hardcore fans, they're like, no, what are we getting in the cage? Tell me what I'm getting in the cage. Do you think it's weird they just haven't said what they're going to do with Roman at this pay-per-view?
No, it doesn't surprise me because the last 2 pay-per-views, they really didn't come together until like the week before the pay-per-view. So this does not surprise me. And it just shows you like the difference also, because like in AEW, we knew what that card was going to be 3 weeks ahead of time because they've been promoting it and building it up.
They only have a pay-per-view. They only have a TV show. Like their developed platform is developed, but it isn't what WWE's is. WWE's, they don't have to tell the same stories. They don't have to bookend things. Their chapters don't have to be as thick because they don't have to make as much TV. So it's like, the comparison is off there a bit. We could talk about those ratings, by the way, too. But enough there. I want to get into this comment here. Nin Millie says, I'm not for Ray versus Reigns, but if built properly, it can make Ray look somewhat strong. Here's the thing. They made Cesaro look strong. We haven't seen anything from Cesaro since he lost at the Backlash pay-per-view. He lost to Reigns, but he lost, but still looked great. And I think the thing is with Ray, he's a perpetual babyface. You will always want to root for Ray versus the heel. Like the elements are there. If you don't have John Cena for WrestleMania, I think a Ray versus Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania could be SummerSlam. We're talking about it like it's SummerSlam. That match. But I mean, if you're doing it in Hell in a Cell, that's a closer. That's the end of it.
That's a good match.
This strikes me as more of an angle. This is going to be more of if you want to make sure Reigns is extra evil going into the summer, as if he isn't evil enough, they're going to remind you how evil he can be, how much hubris he has drenched himself and how lost he is in his own ego trip. But the weird thing is, I don't exactly know what they're doing, but I'm still on board. Here. Yeah.
I can see what you're saying. And I also kind of have to remind you of how great Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar was, how good that match was last year. Or was it a year or 2 years ago?
That was Survivor Series. I was there. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, but there were people that were just kind of downplaying this match. But I'm like, when the match happened, it was great. So that has been the MO. That's been the MO of hardcore WWE fans for a while. Is this? I don't like this on Raw. I don't like this on SmackDown. Week to week TV. Then the pay-per-view happens, and you're like, dude, that was cool. But that was cool though. I just wish they could do that on Raw every week. They can't. They can't do that on Raw every week. That's why there's a pay-per-view. That's why there's an interference in every single match on Monday nights.
So you get to finish at the pay-per-view, brother. All right. This is the carny part. We have other people chiming in. Paul is with us all the time. How you doing, Paul? He says the Roman storyline is getting really old. They need to move on. Is Roman long in the tooth for you?
Nah, I think he's just scratching the surface right now, man.
I think so too. I think there's some things they haven't done with him yet. I still think he's an interesting character. I'm on board with it. If you're watching on demand, don't feel like you're not a part of the conversation. Get your comments down below. We will jump into that conversation after this video goes live. You've spent nearly 30 minutes with us. We're very, very thankful for that. Give us a like if you haven't done it already, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Also, check us out on Facebook. You can turn on your notifications there for us as well. And if you want to, hey, I watched a part of the video, but I got to go do something. I got to go work on, maybe I'm gonna get my workout in or something like that. Bring us with us. Take the podcast with you. Go ahead and subscribe. We are dropping now episodes of Vince Russo's Legion of Raw on our podcast feed, along with Dutch Mantel, that he does our SmackDown review, Smack Talk, every Friday night. You can check those out on our video channels, on our podcast channel as well. We have a bunch of exclusives there as well. We drop almost a new piece of audio every single day if we can. So go and check it out here. Jose, I know you were busy tonight. We are previewing this week's NXT Takeover.
Yes, that's right, Kevin. Tonight on the debrief at 8:30 here on Sportskeeda Wrestling, Rico El Glorioso and myself will be discussing this week's go-home show for NXT, plus our preview for NXT Takeover in your house going down this Sunday. It's going to be about a full hour. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk about, is Karrion Kross ready for the 5 of them, or is the 5 of them really ready for Karrion Kross? We're going to talk about
versus the world. That's what it is. It's Kross versus the world, man.
We're going to talk about it. And then the 2 big matches that were announced for Takeover, the $1 Million Championship is back. So we're going to get a ladder match, LA Knight and Cameron Grimes.
To the moon.
And then we also got a.
What do you think of that? What do you think of the
love
heel combination there?
I love it. I love it.
You like
I think it's great. I love it. And I love LA Knight, but I'm even loving Cameron Grimes more. So it's just who's the heel here? Who's the baby here? Nobody knows. But we also got
they're over, brother.
But we also got a huge winner takes all match. MSK teaming up with Bronson Reed, their NXT Tag Team Championships, and the North American Championship is on the line against Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar. Oh my God. That match is going to be fire. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk all about it tonight.
This is a pretty stacked card on paper. This is a pretty stacked card on paper, and it really is.
So tune in tonight, 8:30 here on Sportskeeda Wrestling. We're going to have the whole breakdown for you guys.
We do want to thank everyone. We've gotten a lot of new subscribers on our YouTube channel. We're really, really appreciative of that. We've gotten over 1,500, I think, in the last few weeks. It's really, really good.
Very nice.
We are marching towards 20,000. That's what we want. Our next goal is 20,000. So try and get us there. If you check us out on Facebook, go ahead and check out our stuff on YouTube. It's just another way to do it. It helps us reach a little bit more people. There's different things we can do with advertising on it. Don't worry if we do ads. We won't do them annoyingly. We will do them in a way that it's just kind of like cool contesting and stuff like that. Don't feel like we're going to annoy you with all that stuff. We're just climbing ahead here. All right. And there's a lot of other people involved in this. Kudos to our graphic team. Kudos to Aranava. Kudos to Roni. All the different people working off camera. We have a lot of people helping us out there.
Big team. We got a big team.
Big team. Big team. 2 different continents. All right. The Transcontinental Wrestling Media Alliance, that is Sportskeeda, marches into a back sweaty hot summer. Get your vaccinations. All right. Get your vaccinations. Get your shot in the arm. Get up. Get all Jackson vaxxed. Get all Jackson vax for the greatest summer of your lives. Are you ready for the biggest party of the summer? It is probably it's going to be in front of a TV screen like it's been for the last year and a half. But
it's a hot vax summer.
It's a hot vax summer, baby. Hot vax.
Hot vax summer.
All right. Remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what, Jose?
Enjoy wrestling, guys.